I recently got out of a toxic relationship with a person I had been with for almost 4 years. Determined to turn my life around, I decided to embark on a journey of self-improvement. With hopes of finding love again, I ventured into the world of dating apps and even went on a few blind dates. However, luck and genuine interest seemed to elude me at every turn. Frustrated but undeterred, I sought comfort in new experiences and signed up for a 2-month course on building houses from scratch. As someone who wasn't particularly handy with tools, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation when I walked into the workshop. The room was filled with middle-aged men, engaged in lively conversations about their past construction projects, brand names of tools that I never heard of before, and a general hyper-masculinity that I tend to shy away from. I was the only novice among them, virtually invisible except to the instructor. Taking my place at an empty workstation, I noticed a woman named Sharon a few spaces away. With her ash blonde hair, round face, slim glasses, and had a positive, thick and curvy figure, she possessed a certain charm that drew people close to her. She wasn't trying to outshine the men, but she didn't act like a damsel in distress either. It didn't take long to notice that many of the men went out of their way to flirt with her and offer assistance on even the most minor tasks. While some were met with a smile or a thank you, my presence seemed inconsequential to her. Week after week, we attended the classes together. I focused on learning the fundamentals, starting with the basics of using various tools. It was during a lesson on the miter saw stand that I found myself struggling. I attempted to cut pieces of wood, hoping to grasp the technique, but my efforts were in vain. That's when Sharon noticed my struggle and approached to lend a hand. Most of the men pretended not to notice, but gradually they followed suit, including the instructor, who stepped in to guide me. As they did, their attention shifted towards Sharon, engaging her in conversation and offering their assistance. As the course progressed, I noticed a gradual decline in the number of participants. Many of those who were there on the first day seemed to disappear. The instructor dismissed it as a common occurrence, a dropout rate of approximately 40% after the first month. He seemed indifferent, attributing it to the no-refund policy. Nevertheless, I remained dedicated to learning, keeping my focus unwavering. On the last day of the course, after receiving our certifications, a few of the remaining students suggested going out for dinner to celebrate. I declined their offer, bidding my classmates farewell. Just as I was about to leave, Sharon waved me down and struck up a conversation. To my surprise, she asked if I wanted to join her for coffee. Shocked but intrigued, I agreed, and we met later that afternoon. We spent hours engrossed in conversation, sharing jokes and anecdotes about the class and its peculiar characters. As the evening drew near, I summoned the courage to ask Sharon out to dinner. She declined, lowering her face slightly. She cleared her throat and started reciting her strict meal plan, which followed a low-carb, keto-friendly diet. However, she extended an invitation for me to come over to her place, where she could cook dinner for us. I hastily agreed, and I saw a light in her eyes. It looked like excitement, but it was hard to tell if I read too much into the expression. I felt that I overplayed my hand by being too interested. I let the thought go enough to get ready. Nervously, I arrived at Sharon's place later that night. The dining table was adorned with perfectly cooked food, exquisitely tender and flavorful. Sharon explained how she had made significant progress with her strict dietary regimen. To accompany the meal, she offered a glass of wine, and we engaged in pleasant conversation. However, as the night wore on, a sudden wave of drowsiness overcame me. Deciding to freshen up, I excused myself and headed towards the restroom. But before I could reach it, I stumbled and lost consciousness. When I finally regained awareness, I found myself in a dimly lit room, the sound of a saw echoing in the distance. Confused and disoriented, I tried to make sense of my surroundings. The basement was cloaked in an eerie atmosphere, with heavy plastic covering the walls and floors. Bottles of mysterious chemicals and a pressure hose caught my eye in the corner. As I strained to see through the darkness, Sharon's figure came into view, engrossed in repairing some equipment. She placed a few heavy tools, some that looked like they were from a butcher's shop, into a 5-gallon bucket and turned to go upstairs. Seizing the opportunity, I cautiously began freeing myself from the bonds that held me captive. The pain of dislocating my shoulder shot through me, but I gritted my teeth, determined to escape. Finally, I managed to slip my arms free and started working on the ankle restraints. I saw the basement windows open from the inside. Using a few buckets and sawhorses, I propped them close to the window and pulled it as far as it would go. Just as hope began to fill my heart, a heavy lock clicked and footsteps descended the stairs. Panic surged within me as I hurriedly retreated, seeking cover under the basement furniture. The tension in the air grew palpable as the footsteps approached, until they suddenly reversed course and ascended the stairs. The door slammed shut, leaving me alone once more. Heart pounding, I cautiously made my way up the stairs and tried the door. It was bolted from the outside, my escape route sealed. Desperation set in as I considered returning to the window, but as I glanced down, I froze. Sharon's menacing gaze met mine through the basement window, her eyes burning like fiery coals. She hissed with a chilling intensity before disappearing back into the house. Without a moment to spare, I leaped down the stairs and made a final attempt to use the window for escape. With no ledge to support me, I hastily arranged sawhorses and paint cans, creating a makeshift boost to hoist myself up and out. But just as I was about to pull myself to freedom, a searing pain lanced through my calf. There was a hand like a vice grip that clenched my ankle and a pull like someone was competing in a tug of war. I let out a scream of agony, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I yanked myself forward, tumbling onto the ground outside, narrowly avoiding an ice pick that had been aimed for me. I saw the long silver ice pick sink into the hard ground where my back was only a fraction of a second before. In excruciating pain and running on sheer determination, I limped toward my car, only to realize that one of the tires was flat. Panic surged through me once again as I scanned the surroundings, searching for any means of escape. Spotting a neighboring backyard with lights out, I mustered every ounce of strength and rolled over a fence, seeking refuge behind the bushes. Yet Sharon's hunt for me was relentless, her footsteps growing closer and heavier. My imagination told me that she had a gun or a large knife to finish me for good. Summoning the last of my resolve, I pushed forward, my vision blurring as shock overtook my body. Hoping to find sanctuary, I stumbled upon a large trash bin. With a burst of desperation, I lifted the lid, causing a distraction that drew Sharon's attention. Seizing the opportunity, I hoisted myself over the fence and waited, hidden within the shadows. The silence enveloped me, and for a moment, it seemed as if I had escaped. As I caught my breath, the world around me spun, and darkness encroached upon my consciousness. Hours passed, and when I finally awoke, I found myself in a hospital bed. The nurse explained that I had lost a significant amount of blood and required stitches, but I was fortunate to be alive. Determined to bring justice to the terrifying ordeal I had endured, I requested to speak with the police and file a report. The next evening, the police returned to the hospital, bearing unsettling news. My car had been found impounded, saying that it was near a fire hydrant, and the person named Sharon, along with the house address she had provided as her residence, simply did not exist. I told the police about the other students, the class that we took, and the name of the instructor. They assured me that they'd look into it, but so far nothing has ever happened. The trail of deception grew colder, leaving me to question the truth of my experience. I decided to download a new dating app. I think being with someone, even if I didn't like them, is better than being alone. I have no idea if Sharon will turn up again to finish me off, once and for all.